Okay, hi and welcome back to some tips on this Hangman assignment. Okay, we talked about the first requirement. So let's look at the second requirement. Okay, so here we need to have the ability for the player to enter either a character or a string as the guess. Okay, so here you would need to process both options. Now I wanted to go over a simple way to process both by reading the guess, regardless of what it is, either it's a character or a string, reading it in as a string. Okay, so let's look at, let me open the compiler here, and let's look at how we can do this. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to allocate some memory to store the guess. Okay, so let's say we need, this is going to be an array of characters because the user can enter a string, a word. So let's make it big. I'm going to make it 50. And we can prompt the user to enter a string or a character. So please enter your guess. Okay, we can say a word or letter, let's say. Okay, in one go. So you don't, give him the option click 1 to enter a word, click 2 to enter a letter. This way is much more user friendly, I think. So here, because we're doing the work behind the scenes, and what we're doing it is we're reading whatever he enters as a string. Okay, so if I read it as a string, I'm going to store it in guess. And then now I have some string functions that can help me out here. Notice that if the user enters a letter, then the length of this guess will be 1, right? Because it's only a letter. But if the user enters a word for the guess, then the length is going to be something bigger than 1. Okay? So we can do this. We can check this. So we can declare the size of the guess as an integer. So we have size of guess or length of guess, and we can initialize this, okay, to 0. It's good to initialize your variables. And then we can call the string length function, and the return of this function is going to be the length of whatever the player entered. Remember, the string length function is in the string.h file, so you need to include it here. Okay, so let me include the library string.h. Okay, so I got the guess, the size of the guess, and here I can differentiate. I can say, okay, if the size guess is equal to 1, then I know that the user entered a character. Okay, so here player entered a character. And where do I find the character? Okay, so let me print out player entered character letter %C. Okay, let's print it out also. So where do I find it? Well, in index 0 of the array, the first element of the array. So this is at guess of 0. Guess of 1 is going to be the null character, okay? Because whenever I read a string with %s and save in an array, it also appends the null character. Otherwise, if the guess is greater than 1, then I know that the user entered a word. So I can printf, let me copy this, printf player entered the word %s. Okay, so I print out everything the player entered. So let's test this. Okay, so let me enter, let's say I enter an M. Okay, player entered letter M. It looks like it's working. And let me enter a word. Let's say boy. Player entered the word boy. Okay, so I've captured the user's input. So now I know, if it's a letter or a word. So what I can do here, I mean, this is not the exact code, but I'm going to give you some, code to see. How do we check to see if this guess is in the word, if this letter is in the word? Well, you can, let's say, okay, we have declared the array. I'm going to work with the string literals array, okay, and let's say the random number is 2, okay, so let's say the word is words lit of random number, which corresponds to 2. So what I need to do is I need to go through the entire word. Okay, so say it's window, say window is the word. I need to go through the entire word and check letter by letter to see if this letter that the player entered is in there. So I need a for loop here. So I can start with index 0 and go up to, so while I is less than the string length of now the words lit array at position rand number. Okay, so this words lit brackets rand number corresponds to my word. Okay, words lit and assume random number is 2. I just said it here, but you can, you know how to find this. Figure out, produce a random number. So this is my word, okay, so this is the secret word. So I need to go through all the letters of the secret word and check. So I++, so I need to check. Let me use brackets here. So I need to check if this letter that the user entered, which is at guess of 0, if it's equal to the words rand num, this is my word, and then another bracket, next to it to check each letter, right? So I'm going through each letter of the word stored at this row. Okay, so I is going through the columns of the two-dimensional array, or the in this case it's an array of pointers to string literals. So this second bracket goes through each element, and if the guess is there, I can, if the letter is there, I can print something like, okay, the letter, new line, the letter, let's say %C exists in the word at index. Let me also print the index. Okay, so the letter is guess of 0, and the index is I. Okay, so it's also going to print the location. And here you can, of course, if it doesn't exist in the word, okay, here you can use you can also use a flag to see if it's in the word or not in the word. Let me add a flag here so you see this. Let me add a Boolean. This is, let's call it letter found. Okay, so letter found is going to be false initially. This Boolean is defined in stdbool.h, so you need to include that library. So if the letter found initially, it's false, and if it's found here, I'm going to set this flag to true. Oops. So let me set it to true. Letter found is true, and then otherwise, if letter found is false, is still false, if when I'm done with looking for the letter in the word, I can use like an if statement here. If letter found is still false. Or I can write if not letter found here. Let me do it this way. So you get used to the C type notation here. We use this a lot. If not letter found, we can print letter is not in the word. Okay, and otherwise, so if the player entered a word, and we can also check if this word is the guess, is the secret word. So we can use string compare here. So if not string compare, so if the guess, now the guess is a string, right? So we compare that string to words lit rand num. Oops, I didn't use brackets. Words lit rand num. Let's see with the parentheses here. Okay. So we compare these two and see if they're equal, which means if not, string compare is true. Let's see, we have, okay, I think this is correct. Here we can print out something like printf, you found the word. You have found, oops, the word. Otherwise, you have not found the word. You have not found the word. Okay, so let's test this. And remember, we assumed that the random number is 2, so we're talking about the word window. So let's test this, enter our guess. So let me enter a letter that's not in the word. Let's say V. Okay, player entered letter V. Letter is not in the word, okay? So it looks like it's performing well. Let's enter a word. Let me enter window. Player entered the word window. You have found the word. Okay, so let's enter table, for example. Player entered the word table. You have not found the word, so it looks like it's working well. So let's also test for the letter in the word, like W, or let's say O. The letter O exists in the word at index 4. Okay, so it looks like it's working great. Okay, so stay tuned for another tip. Thank you so much.